Matt Lenihan, Boxing Social, in association with Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined by Adam Booth. Adam, Michael Conlan is back. Karim Guerfi. Everyone knows sort of, I think, what to expect. He's been European champion 5 times, sort of fringe world level. But Mick Conlan looks really locked in for this. He knows a victory against him opens the doors for these big fights. How impressed have you been with Mick in the lead up to this fight?
Yeah, I mean, after a world title challenge, wanting to get back to that level again and fight for a world title, it would be foolish and the biggest mistake he could make to overlook someone like Karim Guerfi, who is experienced, seasoned. And let's not get it wrong. He was dominating Jordan Gill not that long ago and just made a silly mistake and paid the ultimate price for it. So we expect that Karim Guerfi minus the silly mistake. So Mick's ready. He's prepared well. He's had excellent sparring that's tested him and challenged him. So even if there was going to be some complacency subconsciously, that wasn't allowed in the gym because he got tested and he raised his game.
I spoke to Kurt Walker and he said Michael Conlan, someone who'll come around once every 20 years. He said in terms of work ethic, desire, effort, he says even like when he's doing his runs, his PBs, it's like Jesus, like he pushes it. He goes, he's motivated, but he's like on another level kind of thing. Do you see that when you're in the gym, like that's something special that keeps him going?
Yeah, there's no bad days with Mick. Even bad days aren't bad days because of his level of focus and determination and the way that he's been brought up and the way that he's been bred into boxing by his dad John and the fact that he was elite as an amateur and that is now manifesting itself in pro fighting with pro style.
Does that give you more of a sort of a joy as a coach, knowing that you've got a fighter like that who you don't have to like maybe kick him up the arse and go, look, come on, step it up, whereas he's like just already mentally set himself to go?
Yeah, as a coach, like if the fighter truly doesn't have it in him, it doesn't matter. You can paper over cracks and mask it for a certain period of time, but ultimately what they want and what their desire is and their will and how strong their will is inside will ultimately show out. And Mick has got an indomitable spirit.
How's this going to pan out on Saturday night? Do you see a long dominating performance by Mick? Do you think he'll be able to get Karim out of there? What's your heart saying how it's going to go?
Never go into a fight relying on another man's weaknesses. Mick's prepared for 12 rounds and he's prepared for 12 rounds at a high lick as well, at a high work rate. If it goes 12 rounds, it doesn't go for 12 rounds, I don't care. All I care about is a Michael Conlan win and a Michael Conlan performance where he makes all the right choices at all the right times.
Is it hard sometimes as a coach when you see fighters who are maybe engaged and getting involved when they don't need to sometimes? You mentioned there Guerfi versus Jordan Gill. Now Guerfi, all he had to do was move around the ring in the last round and he would have got the decision. Do you find yourself sometimes when you see fighters getting involved where they shouldn't? Is that your biggest bugbear as a coach where you can see it? Like if Mick's winning the fight but then he gets involved in a lot of trades, is that a big frustration when you're watching it?
I wouldn't say it's frustration. It's boxing, it's fighting, and that's going to happen. You need them to have that in them. You need to know that when they have to, they've got to bed down and trade and dominate with the fighting spirit, not just as well as their skills. As a coach, I want to see, a complete shutout every round, and with no risks. But obviously, that's not what the fighters are made of. My job is to encourage them to do the things that leaves them landing shots without getting caught. That's what my job is. And then their choices of which shots to throw and how aggressive to feel and how assertive to feel. If they're managing the fight right, I only have to guide them. If I feel that they need to step on the gas and try and start to dominate physically and emotionally, then we're working out. But there's so many different ways of going about things. But for me, they don't get touched once during a fight and they win the fight, that's when I'm happy.
Absolutely, it'd be an ideal world, wouldn't it? Next year for him, world title shots, potential rematches, it's got to be for him, hasn't it?
I don't want to talk about anything other than tomorrow night, I keep getting teased and lured into trying to have conversations about that. That would be a bad fucking mistake because Karim Guerfi is capable, like you say, fringe world level. And what's Mick? Mick is fringe world level because he hasn't been world champion yet, right? So they're at the same level, and it would be foolish to consider anything else other than Karim Guerfi. And we've met, we've shook hands, we've engaged each other, and I see he's up for it. Yeah. He's got that little spark in his eye, and that excites me because when someone does test Mick raises his game.
I was going to say, that must make it better than someone who's coming here just to get paid and just to do rounds and see how long they last kind of thing. That must be a lot better. Prepare Mick doing it for later on for a tough fight.
Mick is better the more he's challenged.
Yeah. Right, let's talk about Josh Kelly. I think before you go, we've got to touch on him. You and everyone's always said if he goes in there with the right mindset, he's a brilliant fighter, and he showed that against Troy Williamson, who a lot of people were backing to do the business, but Josh Kelly was punch perfect, brilliant, showed the right temperament in there. Was that important for you that he showed the right temperament against Troy to get the victory, so that help him show all of his skills?
It was important for him, and just immensely relieving for me, because for me, I just want him to express what he is and what I've seen since day one. And now it's almost like psychologically he has this freedom to be what he is, and worked on himself a lot mentally and understanding himself more as a person. And I genuinely believe, and he won't argue with me, from what I've seen in the gym, Josh fought okay last week. I know how much more he's capable of and how much more he can do, and so does he. So last week beating Troy for me was now the start of his professional career.
So how much of Josh Kelly have we seen percentage-wise? What was that? 50%, 60%?
What you saw last week?
What was last week?
Much less than 50%.
So we've potentially got another 60% on top of what we saw.
At least.
Jesus wept.
He knows that.
Do you see him as future world champion down the line? I think now he's got rid of them. I don't want to say like them demons, but now he's sort of managing his mind a lot better going into fights. Is this the start of his next new chapter?
It's not just going into fights. It's him as a man and in life. It was so much more than just boxing, and he hasn't papered over the cracks. That he's done some genuine, serious work on himself, where it's now led him to the stage where last week, the biggest fight of his life, with all that pressure, and he was able to be free and express himself and do what he wanted to do in there. And because I know how good he is and the other things that he can do, I only see now like a growth in him. And in terms of your question about world championships, I never set a ceiling on a fighter's capabilities, because you always have to believe that you can be the best and that you're striving to be the best, and the best is world champion. So that comes as second nature in our mindset.
Now everyone can see from the outset how much you care about the fighters you're involved with. You can tell like how you get on with them. Someone I think described you as a perfectionist. Like nothing's ever good enough for what they do, but that's how they get better. Do you have to really care about a fighter to work with them in the gym? Do you have to sort of have that thing of, you know what, I like the kids? Because you can't just have anyone turn up and sort of work under you. Do you have to like the person?
I mean, I've got to have belief in them as people as well as fighters.
Yes, that's what I was marking.
Yeah, but I believe in them as a person, of their character, of their culture, and also their ability as a fighter. So yeah, in answer to your question, yes, I do.
Just quickly, last one from me. Can you sum up this past year? Been ups and downs, but it's ending on a bit of a high. Josh Kelly got his British title. We've now got Michael Conlan, who's going to touch wood, finish his year on a high potentially. Sum up this year. Well,
I think this year has been a down with ups at the end, and that's all I'm thinking.
Fingers crossed next year is full of ups. Adam Booth, thanks for talking to Boxing Social. Appreciate your time, and we'll catch up after the fight.